Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. People have asked me, if you can sum up your religion, Islam, in one word, what would that word be? And after giving it some thought, I think that word would be responsibility. Responsibility. Simply, when you look at Islam as a system of guidance and you try to boil down all its many teachings into one principle, then that principle would simply be that actions and thoughts, in fact, bear fruit or have results, have consequences. And that if you are not prepared to accept the consequences of an action that you are considering to participate in, or something you are prepared to do or you're thinking of doing, and you're not prepared to accept the consequences of that, well, then simply you should not do it. Okay? And conversely, if you are seeking reward, then you should do so actively by acting out, the actions that are prescribed in Islam, and try to be of a benefit to people around you and society in general, which is what Islam teaches. And faith in God, in the Islamic sense, you know, is about hope, meaning that you put your hope and your trust in God, that you believe in the sikawa, in the help, the succor of God, the help of God, and that you do not become despondent when things are not going your way or as you planned. But it's more than that, It's not only about prayer, it's not only about seeking God's help, it's not only about trusting God, but it's also about knowing that you cannot act with impunity, about knowing that God's divine justice is just around the corner, and that knowing that God will hold you to account for what you do, who you harm in the process of doing what you do, and that God's divine vengeance, in a sense, is part of the whole God consciousness in Islam. Now, I don't say God is vengeful, but there is such a thing as God actually taking the side of the oppressed and the downtrodden, and helping them to overcome the oppression that they face. So the Islamic God concept is not a neutral God concept, meaning God is not neutral and good and bad is all the same. No. The Islamic God concept is that God are with those people who are good and righteous and believe in Him, and God is an enemy of those people who are bad and evil and destructive. And bad in the Islamic concept, or the Islamic religion, is basically translates into acting with impunity, acting without fear of consequence, acting without consideration, without considering the impact of what your actions would be, and wreaking havoc and destroying the lives of people around you because you are not able to be considerate, and because you couldn't care less what happened. Simply, you want to fulfill, your desire based on your very short-term needs, without considering what the consequences might be in the long term, you know. And so the Islamic morality is not a morality of abstinence. It's not a morality of asceticism. It's a morality of pragmatism. It's a practical morality. Islam doesn't deny people the joys of the world and the pleasures of the world. It neither tells people that they should be poor, they can't have money, they can't have nice things, they can't have women, they can't have... Islam does not do that. Islam's preaching and teaching is basically to say, look, you can have whatever is good in the world, halalan tayyiban, whatever is good in the world, and whatever is good in the world will be beneficial for you. However, you have to do so with a sense of responsibility, that you acquire what you acquire in a fair way, in a way that is going to be mutually beneficial to you and others, and in a way that is not going to harm anyone unduly, or in the very least, if it is going to harm people, that the harm should be reduced. So the Islamic model of goals or law or desired outcomes has to do with removing the harm, basically removing the harm and being responsible. And so that is the mode of the religion of Islam in terms of behavior, and everything is premised on that. The concept of haram, that certain things are forbidden to do, is premised on the notion that those things are harmful, and so they are forbidden. It's premised on the notion that even if there is some benefit in those things, the harm of that outweighs the benefit. So in a sense, cost-benefit analysis, it's saying that, look, God has forbidden certain things. Only a handful of things are forbidden in Islam, by the way. Things that are constituted as major sins are just really only a handful of things, like associating partners with God, theft, murder, adultery, major things, backbiting, etc. It's because of the ill effects, the harm, and the chaos that those things cause for the individual and for the society, that those things are forbidden in Islam. And then the things which Islam prescribes, on the other hand, actions, do good to others, be kind to your parents, be neighborly, pray your 5 daily prayers, give your charity to the poor. It's all there to maintain balance in your life as a Muslim, to keep you centered, to keep you grounded, to keep you orientated towards goodness, and so on and so forth. I mean, one simple example, the Quran says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر, that the prayer keeps you away from indecency and abominable or evil deeds. The prayer keeps you away from it because you are constantly reorientating yourself towards God and therefore towards goodness, and remembering God is holding you to account, watching you, and that you cannot act with impunity, that you cannot ill-treat people around you simply because you don't like them, that you cannot cheat people, that you cannot act in a way that is unbefitting a person who is mindful that God is watching him or her. So always to act as though you are in the presence of God, which you quite literally are all the time. And so to live with that level of consciousness is, one of the key strategies in the Islamic lifestyle regarding the 5 daily prayers, to be reorientated, with the good, and to actively work against, falling into evil and bad. And so, really, when I look at Islam, it is an extremely beautiful religion. It's a amazing way of life. It offers people real guidance and really elevates the human being to a level of being a complete person, being a person who is able to fulfill his or her potential, and it beautifies the person, to an extent that those people who sincerely and honestly try to understand this religion and this dispensation, this great gift that God sent through the Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and blessings be on him, to humanity. When they really try to understand it, they would really, find themselves elevated, and they would find themselves continually in a state of progress, in a state of reaching higher goals, in a state of honing themselves and their personalities and their thoughts and their actions and their being from the very core, to that which is beautiful, that which is pure, that which is humble, that which is enlightened, And you will see on some of these people, these Muslim people, you will see on some of their faces, a bright light on their faces, and light in their eyes. Because, out of that sincerity, affection and love, for God, and them trying to emulate, and follow in the footsteps of those whom God loved, and of course, especially, the Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and blessings be on him. And so really, it's a beautiful thing, People have, unfortunately, to some extent, I think we can blame ourselves for that. We have lost focus, on what our true orientation ought to be within the religion, and we've sort of focused too much on dogma and being dogmatic and following rules and not understanding the real essence and principle of these rules, not understanding how deeply meaningful they are, not understanding how we profit greatly from being Muslim, and how many things Allah, God, has saved us from, how many calamities He has saved us from by following simple rules. A rule like, for example, don't drink wine. So many ills, so many lives have been ruined, so many families have been broken up by this, practice of drinking wine. And especially, because people don't know where to draw the line and they go overboard, and that's easy to do when people reach periods in their life where they despair, where they are depressed, and so on. And so Islam just drew the line, a thick line, and just said, you know what? Don't drink wine. Okay? Why negotiate the matter of wine? Why open the debate for how much drinking is okay and how much, is too much, and all of that? Just stop it. Don't drink wine. I mean, the wisdom in that alone, one rule in Islam, is, it speaks volumes. It speaks volumes. And Muslim people who believe in God, in Allah, and in the revelation that was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be on him, benefit tremendously from these rules, and benefit tremendously from the fact that they hold to these rules without struggling, really, because the amount of things that are forbidden in Islam are really few. I mean, literally everything else is available for you out there. The amount of things that are available are uncountable. The amount of things that are forbidden are just a handful. And so really, without much effort, without difficulty, by and large, it is easy to just be a Muslim, to observe these certain basic principles, and to benefit and profit from them tremendously, to live a decent life, to walk a straight path, and then finally to, with Allah's decree, with Allah's permission, to finally all meet together as a family and as brothers in paradise. Thank you very much.